Dude, you're so right in Twitch chat. Did those Jack Giga Chads from yesterday make it? They did not. They did not, but they should have. I think I can put them on there, actually. Let me see. Let's get some, let's do some art. I think I have them. I do have them. People are saying F's for JB. What's wrong with JB? Long break. I mean, I thought he's just been like playing Marvel Rivals instead, right? Is he like not playing the patch like when it comes out? That would be kind of interesting. But that kind of makes sense. Marvel Rivals still going strong. Marvel Rivals dev team just got laid off. Nah, that was fake news, right? Someone clarified that and they were like some dev or something. That is interesting though. Having Marvel Rivals be so successful and then like this early on firing an entire office is super interesting. I wonder what led to that. Like obviously like probably some capitalism stuff. But you'd think they'd invest more into it. Is that Max breathing heavy or the doggo? That's a dog, yeah. Hey, my birthday's tomorrow. Woo. Turning the big 4-0. Bro, I'm 32, man. Which is old, though. I don't know why I feel like I have to defend myself on that. It's crazy to me how one tweet from a semi-big account just makes headlines. I mean, it's just the way the world is now. It's crazy. What are you doing for it? I don't know. Max, are you watching the Dragon Soul race on Thursday? Wait, is that a thing? I'll definitely watch that. Bro, Dragon Soul has hella nostalgia for me. I love that raid. Also, I think Dragon Soul is like one of the most underrated raids of all time. I think Dragon Soul is a great raid. Great. It unfortunately has Spine of Deathwing, but... And Madness of Deathwing wasn't hard, but it's cool. But the rest of the raid's awesome. I didn't know it was Thursday. I'll definitely watch that shit. Are you doing Race World Last content? That won't be for another 2 weeks or so. I think at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it. At least for a little bit the night before the raid. But it won't be nearly as long as last time. So, like, here's the reason why. Last time, it was the day before Heroic Week started. And this time, it's going to be the day before Mythic comes out. Which is... I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Because the first couple days of Mythic, as you guys are probably aware of, is very similar to... It's like an abbreviated Heroic Week. Hello. It's me. The last time you did it was for Fyrak? Yeah, it was like going into this expansion. Yeah. Max, did you know that John Cena follows JB? You've added me and asked me that like 4 times, so I'll read it now. But no, I didn't know that, but also that doesn't like really mean anything. I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. Are they only doing Heroic Week on expansion launches? I don't know about future expansion launches, because they didn't do it in Dragonflight, but they did state that the only reason they did it was because it was Nerebar Palace was the first raid of the expansion. Max, do you think the new last boss is going to be as spicy as Queen? I don't know anything about the last boss. Can't know. No one will know what like Mythic Gallywix is going to look like until you're on Mythic Gallywix. It's a completely different fight than Heroic. Hey Max, EU time here. What time's the interview? It's in like 20 minutes. Max, do you find there to be a significant difference in your demographic analytics between your Twitch and your YouTube streams? So what's interesting with that is Twitch actually has terrible demographic information. So most of my demographic information is just from YouTube. Like Twitch's is either it used to like not exist, and I don't know if it exists now, but like YouTube's is way more accurate. I don't know why. Like YouTube just like knows a lot more about their users than Twitch does. Been under a rock. Who are you interviewing? Interviewing Scarzard. He's a WoW developer. He has his hands in a lot of things, but it's gonna be kind of a different interview. It's less like suit and tie. You know, I'm not interviewing the like game director or the associate game director. It's going to be a little bit more conversational, I think. But it's also still only 30 minutes. And he's a fucking yapper. So I don't know how much we're going to get through. In a good way. Like, I'm a fucking yapper too. But like, he's a yapper big time. He talks a lot. So we'll see how much we get through. Max, did you ever raid review Tyler 1's raid through Molten Core? No, I don't really follow OnlyFans at all. Did you change your mind about not doing this and waiting for a podcast one day? I mean, I don't think they're ever going to give us a podcast because we pushed for a podcast for this and they just didn't give it to us. So reality is they're only going to give it to us if this goes well and kind of feels like a podcast. So hopefully it does. Can you do a quick preview of the questions? I mean, so Dratnos put a little something together. Basically, it's like he's a reward designer. So we kind of want to talk about crests, the rewardiness over time for crests, alts, Mythic plus first raid. Trinket design, he makes a bunch of cool trinkets, you know, cool ones you wanted to be good that sucked, stat sticks versus cool effects, coggy load versus the amount of words on some of them. If they're satisfied with how each of raid, Mythic plus, and PvP are being rewarded. And then I know he loves talking about theory and stuff, so like just like what are his theory about reward design in a game like this? Also gonna ask him a little bit about borrowed power. Like, do you think there's a little world for some borrowed power to return in the game after we've had a couple evergreen expansions now? What the raid difficulty could look like in this tier versus last tier, or the last two tiers specifically. And I know he doesn't directly work with raid difficulty, but I know that he asked some raid people about that. Ask him about the raid renown track, because I think that was his baby. I think he did that, the like Galagio reward thing. And then ask him about Dinars. We have some other questions if we get to them, like Mythic track going to 6 and asking him about Valor stones. But he's a fucking yapper, so I don't know if we're going to get through all of that, but it's going to be great either way. Way too many questions for 30 minutes. What are your important... Okay. Remove Valor Stones, man. I mean, I kind of want to hear... I don't know how involved he is with Valor Stones, but I have to be missing something. Like, I so firmly believe that Valor Stones don't, like, you know, my whole bit. They like, whenever you're out of them, it's, like, absolutely brutal to get them. And then when you have enough of them, it's not like it's a good thing. It just, like, kind of doesn't matter. So, you know, it begs the question of, like, does this need to exist? But, like, I bet... He's really smart, by the way. I bet there's, like... Or maybe there isn't. Maybe he's like, you know what? Valor Stones do suck. But, like, I could totally see him being asked that question and seeing, like, is it more nuanced than that? And, like, by the end of his answer, I'm like, okay, Valor Stones do make sense. Because I'm not naive enough to think that there's, like, stuff about game design that you don't directly interact with it, players, that actually does make things make sense and influence decision making and, like, how you play your character that's good. And maybe that's the way it is. But, like, the fact that Valor Stones seems so obviously bad makes me think that there's some, like, hidden benefit to them that I'm not aware of, and I would like to know if there is one. I don't know. When's the interview? It's in 20 minutes, man. Can we get a better gearing system for Mythic Plus that isn't Vault? I mean, I think that would be an excellent question to ask, is just like, you know, why do you need to, like, raid as a Mythic Plus, or why do you need a Mythic Plus as a raider? There's definitely people who feel like, people in the community who feel like I would rather just do one. But, like, Blizzard very intentionally makes you do both in PvE. So, like, I think hearing kind of the philosophy behind that would be kind of cool to hear, like, why that's the case. If there is some philosophy, I'm sure there is. They want people to play the content they make. Yeah, I mean, I know within game design, though, there's definitely, like, a making you not do something because you don't feel rewarded versus making you do something where you feel like it's a chore. Like, there's a lot of weird shit that as a player I don't think I, like, really understand. Like, it seems really black and white to me, but I bet on the design side it's much more nuanced. This would be a good person to ask about that. Still dobby about the interview, or no? I'm not dobby about it. I'm sure it'll be fine. The only reason I was dobby before is I, like, pushed them. I've been pushing them for a year to bring Skarsgård on our podcast because he would be so good at it. And they basically were like, all right, you know, we'll do it next patch. Sounds good. We'll do it next patch. Sounds good. And then we finally got the green light, and they're like, it's a 30-minute interview. And it's like, okay. I mean, it just sucks, but clearly they don't feel comfortable with it. So what can you do? Yo, Max, I didn't mean anything by that too many questions comment. I have conducted interviews with like 5 questions and they take 30 minutes. Yeah, I've also conducted interviews with 20 questions and we're running out of questions in 15 minutes and then I'm sitting there with nothing to do. You know, you gotta be prepared. Wait, you use AVG? No. Dude, okay. Does anyone know what malware installs AVG antivirus on your computer? Because, like, I must have downloaded something recently that put this dog shit on my computer. CCleaner? Maybe it was. I downloaded CCleaner a while ago. And before you guys respond, I am aware about that, like, data leak on CCleaner a few years ago. I don't care. Max, have you watched any Night Rain gameplay? Looks awesome. No, maybe later in the stream though. I am interested in that. I heard from some people who were in the early access for it or the closed beta or whatever. I don't know what it is, but they said it was super weird. Which, I mean, makes sense. Like when they announced it, it looked super weird. When we learned more information about it, it learned super weird. But FromSoft has a lot of respect amongst players, so people are going to buy it and play it no matter what. But also, I'm a fan of games, of game companies, especially if they have the like credibility to do it, to just do some weird shit and see if it works. I'm cool with that. Did you see Fellowship has an open testing? Oh, I'd be interested in trying that out. They gave me access to the last playtest, but it was like the worst timing ever. It was when we were really busy with raid testing for the previous raid for Nerebar Palace, and it was only available from like 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you couldn't play it at night, you couldn't play it in the morning. And like during the exact times you could play it, I was busy for an entire week, so I just couldn't play it. This one is the week before the raid. I mean, that should be fine. There's not really much like from now until the patch comes out, there's not a lot of things for me to do. Except for when information changes, like bosses get changed or like class tuning happens and you have to pivot a little bit. But like outside of that, you're just waiting. Like right, we're fully prepared for the raid based on all the information and testing we've done so far. That's not going to change next week unless, you just get a bunch of like data mined hot fixes that you have to prepare for. Really, most of my work now comes after you see these bosses on Heroic and Mythic when they come out. It's February 24th to March 3rd, so it's not a good time either. Why is that not a good time? Why is it not a good time the week before a WoW patch? I feel like WoW players are the most likely to play Fellowship. And it's coming out a week before anyone's doing anything. So, who cares? There's not a lot to... I don't know if you guys remember, but there's not a lot to do when new patches come out. Like until the actual season starts, there's a lot of extra time. I don't think that's I don't think that's a huge deal. It's probably a good time. I mean, like, would it be better if it was this week? Like, probably, but like, I don't think it's that much different. We will be driving though, bro. I will be driving. I'm gonna be drifting around, man. It's gonna be crazy. I wonder if the devs would answer how they see different specs getting different levels of dev time, like Rogue changes in the past, X-Pac being a third of what Mage gets. Is the reason you're asking that because of that like thing that was circulating around Twitter, and I'm assuming probably Reddit, which is how it showed up there, where it just showed the amount of like sentences or total posts received for every spec in the last couple years? But I mean, here's the thing. I saw that, and when I saw that graph, I expected to click on it and be like, oh, everything's about to make sense for me. Something's going to click, and this graph is going to make so many things make sense, and it had the exact opposite effect. Classes that are in a perfect spot right now, both in gameplay and design and power, have had like 0 changes in a long time. And some of the classes that are completely fucked are terrible in the patch and are like design broken have had the most. It doesn't matter. Like having more posts isn't a good thing necessarily as far as like the result of where your class is. Sometimes your class can be in a great spot and have very little. It just didn't mean anything. Are you guys going to the same venue? Well, I'm not sure if we've announced our Race to World's first event, so maybe we're not having one. I guess you'll have to wait and see. Who knows? There could be, there could not be. I don't know. Max, what would you say is the fastest way to gear up next week for casual people? You're asking the wrong guy, man. I genuinely don't know. Did you do a tier list for the classes? No, not yet. I will certainly be doing that this week, though. I don't know what day. Not tomorrow, probably. Thursday, apparently, there's going to be like a classic Race World first, so I guess I'll be doing it over the weekend. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet. Max, how badly are you going to win so I can start betting? Guys, don't bet. Don't gamble. Unless you have a ton of money and you can afford to lose it, don't do that. Kalamazoo has a tier list for reaction post-interview if you're looking for that. Ooh, I'm down. All right, we have 10 minutes till the interview. I'm probably going to go grab some... Oh, I have a message from someone important. What are they saying? Anything you need from me? Oh, nope. All G. Max, does Liquid know the release date of the raid ahead of the general public? Curious, as I imagine planning the Race World first event would need a bit more time than 2 weeks to organize. I won't tell you if we knew about this patch ahead of time or anything. But I've said before on stream, so it's public information from a few years ago, that, like, generally speaking, like most raids, we learn about the date, I'd say on average 1 to 2 weeks before it's announced, but like no earlier than that. So that happens most of the time. And it's for the exact reason that you just stated. You're putting on multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars production costs for these events, and it takes a long time to schedule that and plan for it. So having the date ahead of time is pretty necessary. Max says Liquid no. Oh, I already read that. Fuck. All right, let me go get. Actually, I kind of have a drink, but. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this raid. I feel confident in figuring out bosses. I think our system and the people we have are really good at that. And I think our players are fucking sick. I think we have really, really good players. So I just feel confident that going into a boss like Gallywix, where you don't know anything about it, I just think our ability to problem solve it will be really good. I feel really good. Like, last raid was weird. Like, last raid didn't really feel any different than a normal raid. It wasn't like we did anything majorly different. It was just good. And I feel like we'll be good again. So that's nice. I like being good. How much does prep and overall confidence change coming off a win versus a loss? I don't know. I feel like we always feel like we can win no matter what. So it's the same. I think the important thing for us is just not to beat yourself. Like, we feel like if we play well and we don't have regression and we are problem solving well, we have a good mentality, like we've seen it for years now, where you'll just stay at a pace and other people won't make up that pace. The only time that changes is when you start messing up on yourself. Either your morale is bad, you make a couple bad decisions, you have a bad strat for something that takes some extra time, Like unless you like unless we don't do those things, which that those can happen. It's really hard. You know, we do pretty good. We feel like we've been doing that pretty well for a while. Walmart sponsor this time, bro. You know what's funny? Apparently, Walmart reached out to the Race to World First with a RFP, which means request for proposal, which is basically saying like, hey, send us some information about us potentially sponsoring you. We're kind of interested, which is like hilarious. I mean, obviously they have no idea that we did like a fuck Walmart thing, but I was thinking about how to rebrand it where you could be like, like right now we're saying fuck Walmart. Like, I don't like Walmart, but you could make it like fuck, comma, Walmart. Like, man, I need some paper towels. Fuck Walmart. Like, of course I would go to Walmart. You just have to change the phrasing slightly, but it would be the same thing. Fuck yeah, Walmart. But yeah, as far as I know, nothing ever happened from that, so I don't think it matters, but. Max, how much of the race is won by prep work versus game day decision and execution? It seems like both top teams have great player systems in prep, and most of it is execution. Well, I would definitely say game day decision and execution, like no question. Like prep work is important, but like it's all just like your ability to like perform what you're trying to do, so the actual players like doing what they're supposed to do, and also making the decisions and changes and strategies in real time, because like from after testing is over, probably 80 to 90% of the stuff you're doing is figured out during the race, not during testing. So it's all like in the moment. That's everything. Like if you did 0 prep, you wouldn't be like super far off of where you. Well, prep is kind of a big. Like, let's just say like one of our guilds just didn't do testing. I bet it would have an almost marginal or completely irrelevant outcome on the race. Probably. Like, it would maybe change your progression by a couple hours or something. It's all during the race. Figuring out the best comps makes a pretty big difference, though. I mean, okay, so if there was no raid buffs, yes, because like you could stack your comp like crazy. But because raid buffs exist, there's only a few spots in the raid. Like last raid, I had chat guess what the best comp would be for the raid, and they got 16 out of 20 right. So if you got 16 out of 20 right and the other 4 were wrong, but wrong means you're maybe not running the exact best classes, but you're bringing your best players on their best class, it probably wouldn't make any difference, to be honest with you, especially on an end boss. Like, as long as raid buffs are in the game and 14 to 15 of your raid spots are predetermined, like there's only so much you can like out strategize someone with a comp. It's really hard to do. All right. What was I going to get? Oh yeah, water. I was going, well, I don't need water. I think it's just like too hot in my house right now. Get a liquid shirt? I don't feel like it. When's Dratnos? In 3 minutes. Speaking of which, I should probably like do join the call and mute, I think. Oh, I should turn off my music as well. Or maybe like a little music in the background is nice. No, Frank can just add some in post for the YouTube video if he wants to. That should be fine. All right. No music? Yeah, no, we're chilling. We're good. We're good. Okay. All right, Reptar, do you want to say hi before we join the call? Oh, he's so tired, by the way. Look at him. He's tuckered out. All right. I'm going to mute real quick, and then I'm going to join this call, and then I don't actually know how I'm going to, I'm pretty sure what I do is I just make my camera fucking huge and just, take up... So there's going to be 3 people on this call, me, Dratnos, and 1 developer. So maybe what I try to do is I put chat, or should I hide chat? Should probably hide. No, chat will make the YouTube video better. Maybe I turn the rotator off for this. Liquid will love that. Remind me to put that back on later. So here, and then Frank or Dratnos and Skarsgård at the top. Yeah, I mean, who fucking cares, man? The whole point is the content, not how it looks. Add Temple Run for the ADHD viewers. That's actually a really good idea. Okay, I'm going to have to get a second here to figure this out, so pardon me. And I'm muting. But other than that, we'll be good. Because I put it in the side of the screen. Okay, 1 second on the camera. While I'm fixing this, though, Skarsgård, so happy to have you on. We've been trying to do this for so long.
For like a calendar year or more.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, the lore in this one, people surrounding this know it's been a long time coming. In fact, this spans multiple podcasts. We technically, Dratnos' previous podcast before he jumped ship and did whatever traitorous mutiny that led to the creation of the Podyssey. which I believe is how it happened. Someone would have to fill me in, but that, even that one was training. So it's been a minute. Yeah, how y'all doing?
We're doing great.
Yeah. I guess
yeah.
maybe we'll just start off. We should do like what do you do? What are you? Who are you?
Yeah, totally.
What's your job?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Patrick Scarborough. I also go by Scarzard on the internet. I'm a senior systems designer on World of Warcraft for the rewards team. And the rewards team is something that a lot of people have questions about, because I think it's a little unclear. It's like pretty obvious to say like, oh, we make items, right? But we have a whole huge team of people. And so I like to think of rewards as basically anything your player can have ever. I'm talking like things in your bags, things temporarily, achievements, right mounts, pets, obviously cosmetics, but even down to like, I think back in the day we used to do stuff like the experience gain that you would get in like certain dungeons over others. Like we touch a lot of records, and it ends up being a very a much more exciting job than I thought coming into it many years ago. That it's very kind of jack of all trades. We help support a lot of other teams, right? I primarily have worked historically with raids. And just the encounters team in dungeons as well. I get to work on Operation Floodgate, as well as Liberation of Undermine and the Renown track Found Within. Worked on a whole bunch of raids before, and a lot of people on my team touch stuff in those areas as well. So yeah. Oh, and also like events and stuff, right? Like the big, what am I trying to think? The anniversary event, right? There was a huge team that had that, and then people from our team will constantly help out every time there's that, a new zone, everything. Anytime you kill and loot a bear liver or whatever, someone put it there, and it's probably someone I know. So it's a very big situation over here. But yeah, mostly raids and stuff for me.
Yeah, I think the kind of the biggest thing that in recent years has been, to me, associated with the reward side has been the item upgrade system that got added midway through Dragonflight and has been sort of iterated on every patch since then.
We really should have picked a name for it. I gotta say with you, just every time it's like the upgrade system. I'm like, the moment we make one other upgrade system, we're cooked. No one can. It's like, which one are we talking about? How would you do it? But yes, no, the universal upgrade system worked on by a lot of people. I want to shout out my friend and coworker Allison Steele for being one of just like giga brain genius. Really helped bring that one together. And it's awesome. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to have a system like that brought into WoW. It might not seem crazy to players from the outside. But it is a lot of work to make that like unified and actually have like loot from all sources kind of be on the same track. It's pretty crazy, at least from when I joined. I didn't think something like that would be possible, but it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sort of came in, and I would say has changed a little bit since it first came out. Right, like it first came out, then we got the myth track added, which was not there. Right, at the very start we didn't even have the myth track, and then that got added, and then it sort of became a little bit like less, I don't know, generous would maybe be from the
we nerfed it. Yeah, no, we nerfed it for sure.
And then it sort of got a buff back again in some ways, especially for raid content in 11.0, and now going into 11.1, actually already on live servers, right? We massive buffs to crest acquisition from M+. So what's sort of been the, I don't know, that sort of roller coaster that it's been going on of trying to land it in a good place? How has that been happening?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I don't want to like, I don't know what I'm about to say. I don't want to like make people afraid of Doomsday, but the thing about the upgrade system is it is very generous, right? It's doing a lot of heavy lifting for us, right? Like I was saying, the ability to say, I mean, I'm sure y'all remember, and maybe people watching this remember that it used to just be like, oh, if you got an item from a specific raid or from a specific dungeon, it was just better, right? Or it would be capped at a certain way, right? And we had to manage item levels in this way. It was like, oh, that one's only going to go up 7 per difficulty. This is going to go up 13. And it was really confusing for players, too, because sometimes people, who I won't name, who are on this call, would make items that are really broken. And that isn't listed by item level. So you would have to know, just because someone on the internet said, that's like, oh, but this dagger from this raid that's lower item level is actually better, and you need to use it in the next tier or something like that. And that's like, that's a difficulty that we'll still have from time to time, but it's really confusing for a lot of people, and ended up being a pretty big barrier on our end to be like, how do we balance the generosity of Mythic Plus versus like the sheer amount of effort required in raid? That's kind of an endless battle that we're always iterating on and trying to make both sides happy or feel a lot better when possible. but also just like, how do we make it make more sense to people? And I know that it's very funny to some people to say, well, we introduced a ton of currencies and a bunch of names, and that's how we made it make more sense. But I am a pretty strong believer that even though there's kind of a shock value to it, that once you understand that it's like, oh, actually everything in the game is on these levels and works in this way, that it feels like something that, like, it feels like a future version of WoW, and we could, we're going to kind of see it forever. So it came out. Very generous, too generous. People in both of your guilds and kind of everyone was like hitting max item level
in like
for
2
like
weeks.
An individual character.
Yeah,
it was crazy, right? And it was really awesome and unique. I was talking with my boss about it today. We were doing some prep for this interview, and we were like, it's so wild that we introduced this thing, nerfed it going into 10.2, and people did not really mind. They were like, oh, thanks. I wanted to play more. Wow. So like, don't have it be immediate. And which normally seems like it'd be crazy, right? People were like, you're taking the thing away from us. But we did make a bunch of other improvements that I think I'm pretty happy with. Heading into 10.1, 11.0. God, my brain is going everywhere. Heading into 11.0, we were definitely interested in like, okay, the myth track is here. How can we try and address? We had a lot of different points of feedback from people heading into this expansion. You all know there were a bunch of changes made to the raid, like adding gilded crests or next rank up crests to the last bosses in the raid, because it just felt like these are harder. It felt a little weird that you could be a heroic only raider and get AOTC, and you would have hero gear you could never cap out, right? Like once I think that clicked in my head, I was like, that's so odd, right? That the only way for someone in that position to ever get gilded crests or aspect crests then is just to like do keys. Despite the fact that you like showed up and killed the bosses every single week. And I was like, what? Feels bad. You probably shouldn't do that. And so we ended up making the decision to extend the myth track, which I know was uncontroversial and in every possible
everyone
way.
loved this. Yeah.
Yeah. No one was mad about it. But I do think it served a valuable purpose for a moment of just like letting people get stronger in a given patch. Something that we might touch on, right, is the relative balance of the difficulty in the rest of the game versus the power that gear gives you we are in a constant struggle. And internally, I mean, we like each other. We're working together, right? But it's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, it's like rabbit season, duck season. It's like, okay, well, now the raid is really hard. So the gear has to be really good so that when you get it, you feel like you can beat the raid. But then the raid might get too hard. And then it just kind of keeps going in an endless loop. So adding the myth track was, or rather extending the myth track was a way for us to try and say, let's give people who hang out a little longer in a patch just some extra road to run on, right? We kept seeing a lot of people who would get stuck on, like, I think Rashok was a big one that I remember, even though that was the patch we introduced it. I think Smolderon for some guilds, say nothing of Tindral, and even for some people like Nimue and Laradar, would just get walled at these things. And on our end, we're like, well, sorry, we've got nothing more to give you. There's no more room unless we nerf the bosses every single week, right? And I know I'm touching on a million things. Max said that I was an omega yapper, and I'm doing my best to prove it right. I'm doing my. I gotta prove you right, man. I'm making you look good.
Oh yeah,
but for all of those situations, right? It just felt like if we let those people who otherwise would be in a deadlock and feeling like they're not progressing just get a little bit more percent here and there, to eventually down someone like a Smolderon, and now you're getting the kinds of trinkets and stuff from that boss that then make you more powerful heading into the next one and the next one and stuff like that. It felt like that was where we wanted to go. And now we are back to this new version, right? We kind of cooked up a change list that we were ready to do for 11.1. And then, a bunch of feedback from the community that was like, we need something now. And so a lot of people on my team, again, I'm going to shout out more of my team eventually later, spoiler alert. I have a lot of nice things to say about them. They worked pretty hard to turn things around on like a dime to get all of the stuff that we put into 11.1 into 11.07, just to say like this will go out before the holidays, just so that people who want to do keys can kind of almost experience this stuff ahead of time, even though, a lot of people are going to come back when the actual season hits. We didn't want people to just be stuck there. Like if we know it's a problem, we should do something about the problem if we have a solution, right?
Yeah.
Which is always, I think, a little harder to come up with than some people think, but it was like, let's rip it. And so I'm pretty hopeful about where we're at now. I think we have kind of figured out about how long we want people doing keys or doing raids to hit their like weekly crest caps in a given week. I think it's something where like I was part of a key group, just personal experience this season where I would do something like 10 keys across 2 nights of just like a lot of my time, right? And I like have a job, I work on this game. I have to be doing stuff. And at the end of that, I would be like, man, I'm still not capped. like if enough of those keys blow up, it was like, that's, brother, I sunk 10 hours into this, you know, and that feels bad for a lot of people. And we were starting to see just more and more of the effects of all of these other things kind of being in confluence. And so I think we realized for our part on the rewards team, we wanted to kind of step back a little bit and almost let the upgrade system work a little better for the average player than it was at the start of this expansion. And I feel like we're in that happy medium, right? I think things are being rewarded in the right places. Mm-hmm. We have now the scaling crests as they go that feel like they make sense, right? It's kind of a bummer to say like, just farm a bunch of 8s, even though you should be doing 10s or 12s. Like, go attempt the hardest stuff you can do, and when you fail, it's more lucrative than farming, you know, lower key stuff, right?
Yeah.
That I think has been an interesting kind of effect to see. So I hope I answered a question somewhere in there. Maybe I raised like 4 more.
Well, no, I think what you did is you answered a lot of other things we were going to ask, I think, all in one. And plus, I don't think you should worry about that at all. I think really what viewers want from this is they want to hear the insight. They want to hear the nuance. They don't want the suit and tie. So. They don't want to hear the suit and tie quick yes or no answer. Like, they want to know why you do what you do and stuff like that, right? So this is very, very, very good. Would have gone very well in a podcast as well. I want to ask you something. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, just a great point I wanted to bring up. I think very insightful of you. I think it would go great in a podcast. Sorry, go for it. What was your follow-up?
My follow-up is, okay, so I know you were majorly, like, you wrote the post on it. I don't know how involved you were, but you were involved in, like, the Galagio reward track thing, which, again, very, very cool just in general of the, like, how much everyone in your team or in Blizzard Warcraft design just completely dove into the theme of this patch, like, head first, which is super cool. But I know initially Dinars were a part of that, were removed. There was a clarification post, like, we might be doing Dinars some other way, but just not as a part of this track. And I'm not asking you to announce anything like that. I'm asking you more of like,
but if you want to,
what I want to and what I am going to do are often very different things.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess kind of what I was asking was one piece of community feedback about the Dinars when they were added was about the time in the patch you were getting them. And I kind of just want to ask you if there's any nuance around like how early or late in a season Dinars, if they were to exist, when we should acquire them and why.
Yeah. Hey, great question, man. Thanks for calling. No, I think so. First off, this is really difficult, and it's the kind of thing that's like really hard to communicate in a post. Like, I don't think that any of us thought when I was which yes, I guess backing up, Galagio reward track is my baby. Renown's reward track is my baby. For better and worse, it has been an insane thing to get together. It does not sound like it should be. A lot of that is a skill issue on me. But we're doing a lot of learning. That means hopefully the future of this, if people like it and we're going to keep it going, is going to be much smoother and have a lot of cool stuff in it. But I don't think we were ever like, month 5 or month 4 for like Dinar are perfect, right? Are absolutely it, right? I think it was more trying to send kind of the message that like at the time, it felt like to me that if we were going to have deterministic loot, right, which is as I know some people are like, please just give it to us. That's all I want. Give it to me in week 8. Give it to me in week 3. You know, yada yada. And you're valid. I believe you. It's just the thing where it is the most powerful thing that we can do, right? Like if you want to think about it, short of just like you logging in with an item, it's like the ultimate like break glass. It is the maximum. It is the farthest that we can go in terms of delivering something to you that is really powerful, right? And that's why it's been used in the sort of like faded season 4s, however people want to call them, to try and say like, hey, this is a shorter time. We are loosening the leash on just letting people play with stuff, right? So it makes sense to say, hey, this is a neat way to say, hey, even if I'm not going to spend that much time in this, let me get it. Let me get the thing that makes me shoot lasers or breathe fire or whatever it is that I wanted, and then get out, right? And I think that totally makes sense. In an actual season where there's real stakes and real people that want to be playing side by side to hit their seasonal goals and get Hall of Fame and get stuff like that, it is certainly still very powerful to give you those items, but it is very difficult to make the argument that it's like the thing we should be doing, you know, if that makes any sense. So having it at the end of the track was mostly to say, we would have wanted it in my original version of this to happen almost around the .7, which I know is like making people cringe, but it's more to say like, hey, this is supposed to be there for you if you didn't get it before now, right? It was supposed to be sort of a bad luck protection, as some people like to call it, right? And the reason that it was removed is because we were already thinking of, okay, that is probably too long, but it made sense for me to say, let's start far and then push things up, right? We've done this with the Catalyst. We've done this with a ton of other things, right? It like talking about how crazy it was that the upgrade system got nerfed and people still love it is like, that is a like unicorn in game design. I feel like it is a rare fleeting thing to have like, we overshot in the super generous direction, pulled back, and nobody wanted to like attack us with sticks, right? You usually want to go the other way, and I know it's excruciating for a player, but WoW is like a huge game and a huge team, and it just like, and I don't like doing this. I'm very impulsive, but it often, I can't deny that it pays off to like be slower and then kind of walk it to the correct place that it needs to be, or else you risk endangering the integrity of the patch, right? I mean, talking back to 11.1 or 10.1, I'm going to get that ruined every time. Aberrus, I loved Aberrus as a raid. I really liked working on it. I know a lot of people that liked it aesthetically, but it was, for many people, especially if you were a heroic-only raider, it was a lot shorter. It was a lot shorter because you got too strong too quick. And a lot of people think like, oh no, this is about, like monthly sub stuff. But it's like, no, man, like there are a lot of people out there for whom like my weekly raiding guild is how I engage socially with a lot of people. And we made a decision that let you get the dopamine sooner, but might have cut 2 or 3 weeks off of your guild's actual like skill floor, like how you would naturally progress, right? And that's a lot of the way of how we try to think about it, is like those journeys and how are we supporting you feeling like, oh, I could actually level up to the next tier, or I might want to try Mythic, or I might want to try Heroic, right? And creating systems that sort of do that, right? Glagio raid buff and the scaling raid buff is also kind of intended to help do that. It's like, oh, maybe we could, if we get enough people, let's actually go for killing boss 1. And then if we kill boss 1, maybe we can kill boss 2, right? Help people on those kind of journeys. So, sorry, rewinding a bit, this is more to say that the Dinar were removed because we definitely understood that it was a little too late, but the way that renown tracks are set up is that they are kind of hard, like this happens at this week every time on a schedule, And while we could certainly change it in the middle of the thing, like we could be like, surprise, it's a few weeks earlier now, right, or something, and technically if it happened before 12 weeks or whatever, we could just move it up on the timeline. It just felt like for the first version of this and the first version of having Dinar out in the wild, that the two should not mix. Frankly, long term, I would love them to be there together, but it's just like, if we want the kind of flexibility that players are asking for, and if we want to try and better hit the timing that they are wanting, even if it's not going to be exactly what they want, shout out to you, week 3 guy, there is one guy, for sure, then we have to at least take them apart. So that's where it went. There's going to be, like I said, there's going to be more stuff soon about where it went and how it will be coming back. But it's just to add more flexibility to players, right? And just to try to put it at a time that makes more sense rather than just saying, it has to be week 16 or week 14 or week 13 or whatever, right? Just easier to fit in.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so the Glagio rewards track, it's got a lot of quality of life. It's got a lot of cosmetics. It's obviously got an amount of flavor that the flavor is tough to describe. But it's also kind of mainly...
I love flavors that are tough to describe.
Yeah,
that's great.
It's there's so much flavor that it's overwhelming even. But it also seems like it's mainly a vehicle for that kind of stacking raid buff. Like that is the most kind of meat that's in there, is the every 3 weeks you get 3% stronger thing, which we saw a prototypical version of it with the Nerebar Finery buff. And then we actually had it at various points in WoW's history, right? Uldir, Archive of the Titans got stronger. We had, of course, like Hellscream's War Song way back in the day. I'm going to date myself many years here.
I've seen the buff. Then. Yeah, I've seen it.
So what sort of has made it something that you want to put back into WoW? Because there's been many years where we haven't had a stacking weekly raid buff, and now there's been 2 tiers in a row, and it's sort of entering this raid renown track that seems like it's kind of something that is we're trying to make into maybe a permanent thing.
Yeah, so I spoke about it a bit earlier where I was talking about like tuning levers, maybe, unless I didn't say that and I just imagined it, but I'm pretty sure I said it somewhere. I think for us, the renown track has the ability to be another knob for us to just add more cool things, right? Like, I think a little while ago, people were like, hey, where did all the pets go in the raid? And, or like, where did like this or that go? Or like, why don't we have less of this? And I don't just mean to say like, the existence of a renown track will immediately make like mounts fall from the sky, right? But I think it's one of those things where the timings of where we work on certain bosses and we hammer out certain cosmetics and everything is often handled in such a way that it can sometimes make it difficult to pivot later in the process, right? And so having this thing that says, well, we can kind of just give you more cool stuff, right? Also, there's a lot of things that are themed to the Galactios specifically with this one. It's part of why we wanted to go for it is I love the theme. A big thing with me, and I worked on the Mega Dungeon, Dawn of the Infinite. We did a lot of cool stuff. We did time traveling items. You know, we did stuff from the past. We did quantum items and made a whole system for. Shoutouts to Alex Goodbay, an engineer who I showed him my pitch, and he said, I'll help you because this is very funny. And then he did. And then now we have quantum items, which I think are really great. All of those are just born out of this thought that I have, and something that I try to impress on everyone as much as they would like me to stop yapping about it is if we are doing something, try to make it the coolest version of that thing, right? I don't know. This is not leaking. I don't know if we will ever do a time travel dungeon again. I don't know if we'll ever go to the Emerald Dream again. I don't know if we'll ever do an Aberrus again, right? But if we are there, in my opinion, don't hold back. Like, make the version of that thing, right? Like, make the most time travel-y trinket possible. Make the coolest item in that way possible. And so Galactio Rewards is trying to be that thing where if this bombs entirely, we don't have to come back. And it makes sense because it is so themed to goblins and their silliness and the way that they would run this that we'll just scrap it. We'll find a new way to hit our goals, right? But if we have another raid in the future that's like it's Ice Crown 3 or 2, it's Ice Crown again or something, right? Then yeah, I probably won't have a guy giving you like food and like a vending machine in Ice Crown, but we could probably find something that seems really sick and really tied to that thing, or, you know, having like souls that you like catch in the main area or something, you know, I don't know, but something that should feel like you are getting a basic amount of stuff every time in terms of your power. You're getting a basic amount of cosmetics every time. And then you're getting that little bit of extra that makes you feel like I am tied to this location. And if I really like the particular theme of a patch, then this just enforces what I loved about it.
Yeah. We have so many things we want to talk about. We have 7 minutes left, so we're going to.
I know. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, it has been extremely good so far, but so I know this is something that's not quite up your alley. But I know that like it's not something you directly work on all the time. But I think you prepared for it and asked some people about it, specifically about like the raid difficulty from last raid to this raid. Is that something that you are? Like you've talked to the raid team about it, because I can ask a question, or if you feel like not, we actually have
I remember. I think we talked a bit about this. Yeah, I reached out to some of the people on that team, and I think they had an answer that I thought was really cool, right? Which is, in fact, give me a second. I'm going to look over to this Slack screen because I want to get the exact verbiage because I really like what he said.
And more specifically too, like you had like the Tindril thing. Like the Tindril thing was kind of talked about as like, well, everything beforehand, people kind of just got through it and then they were at this boss they shouldn't have been at. And I feel like Brood Twister maybe wasn't, super hard for the 4th to last boss, and Rashanan wasn't super easy for the 4th boss, but those two bosses are right next to each other, and those created a bit of dissonance, I think. And like I guess like more of a difficulty curve, like has that been thought about? And just overall difficulty, we've had 2 raids in a row where the last 2 bosses, the amount of attempts, the amount of time have been extremely difficult early, and if that is a consistent theme that will continue, or if they've thought maybe that was an overstep.
I definitely think, I mean, I'll even quote him, and I don't want to throw him under the bus, but basically saying like the exact curve, the difficulty curve of Nerebar is not something that they're really looking to repeat. Smoothness in curve, difficulty curve, smoothing the curve is the kind of thing that has been thrown around a lot, right? I think you all hit the nail on the head, right? Brood Twister and Tyveza might have even been totally fine and not needed nerfs if the 2 before it felt like more of a ramp up, or bring them down and bring, like there's ways to make that feel like it makes more sense rather than I remember Dratnos, you being like, my guild is on Brood Twister at the same time Max's guild is on Brood Twister, and that's insane, right? Like that's because we have no chance of killing it for weeks, and we're watching, you do it at the Race World first, and I was like, that is kind of funny when you think about it that way.
Yeah.
So no, they're definitely more interested. I know that a lot of you have noted just like the way that the layout of Liberation of Undermine is, it kind of invites you to be like, even though I think there will end up being a sort of like meta way to progress those bosses, there's kind of an interesting way of like a few are easier and then a bunch are hard. And it's kind of you figuring out like, what can my group take on? Like, what can we kind of do in a coordination sense? What do we feel like we're ready for? And so the interesting thing, and I'm going to say this again, because I love the use of this word. He was saying, trying to let fight idiosyncrasies carry more of the challenge, which I was like, good, hey man, good word. But just more being like, can we have more of the fights that are about their mechanics and not just about, and this guy's hitting you for 8 billion damage? Like, kind of in turn letting people outgear the challenge, but also saying that you still have to do the dance, you still have to do the things right. You know, no amount of gear is going to make the Katamari trash balls on Styx Bunk Junker like just be solved for you.
Or
right?
Silken Court, right? Like Silken Court,
exactly.
You have to know how to move. Yeah.
Yeah. And the hope is that as they move forward, not only is hopefully Liberation Undermine going to be, it's my favorite raid already. I'll say that straight up. But like, hopefully it's going to have the kind of curve that people will see like, this is exactly what I want. But people will feel like even when they are, 40, 50% stronger than your guild is going to be, when you all kill it during the race, or however crazy number bubbles up to be when you kind of add all the modifiers together, that there is just going to be no replacement for doing the fight right? But on the flip side, it's like you've probably bought yourself more time to do the mechanics, right? Or maybe you survived something that you wouldn't have been able to, but for the most part, it's like you're outgearing the stuff that is outgearable, but you are still doing a coordination check that feels cool. Because I think the flip side of that is that there are some people on some earlier fights in the raid that are actually just even less satisfying for them because they only go into Mythic later when they are super geared, and there's a challenge that like isn't present because they just numerically like bop it, right? And hopefully, even though those challenges are probably still going to be like single-digit pulls for those kinds of guilds, they should still feel like, cool, I got a bit of the flavor, I got to enjoy some of the experience, rather than just like everything is easy until I hit a wall and crash, and I am going to park there for like 2 months and be sad.
Yeah, and the opposite of that too, right? Which is that you get a fresh set of gear, you get a bunch of vault loot, you get to upgrade crests, and then a boss feels exactly as difficult as it was the previous week.
Right. Yeah. I think you two have both done content where you've talked about like some bosses that like gear could never solve for you, right? And I think we're hoping to land on the it is a knife's edge, but we're hoping to land on it of saying like there are parts of this fight that will not be solved for you by gear, but the rest of it will be, right? And give you that room to where you don't have to do one tank Kai'Veza strats, but you do still have to play that fight really good, or you're gonna get bodied. I know we are running out of time, and I know that I have spent so much of this time talking. It is technically what you all asked for, so I hope that's okay. But I wanted to say something here at the end, if I can steal the last 2 minutes of this or 1 minute of this. And even though some people have asked not to be named, I wanted to shout out the members of my team, the rewards team, because they're on the credits of this thing, so you see them. I want to shout out to our lead, Phil Zaleski. I want to shout out Allison Steele, Tyler Newhouse, Alejandro Grossman, Landon Doy, Jonathan Sherwood, John Steady, Jeff Groh, Justin Cage, Paige Rom, Annie Fong, and then our amazing QA, Wes, Niall, Alyssa, and Justin, especially Wes, who's literally helping me with the raid right now as we speak. I have to, when I'm done with this, do this. And I wanted to do that especially because I think there are a lot of people in y'all's community and the community at large who think like, I'm a lead, or they think like, you will see a guy would do an interview and they're like, that's the guy, that's the one guy. And I just don't think that's helpful for anybody. I think it makes devs feel bad if someone like me gets up and yaps a lot and they're like, he thinks he did all my work. But on the flip side, I think there's a lot of gamers out there, lower G, I'm not being mean to any of you, who will think like, they'll think like, oh, that's just PR speak. Actually, that guy is a genius. And I'm like, no, legitimately, every single thing that I've said, that I've mentioned, even the things that I've like owned myself, every single one of the people that I've mentioned and way more have helped me like get it into the game. Every individual person at this company works on so many different things or touches so many different things. I've had really dumb ideas or just like one-off like yell a name at somebody and then it goes in and then that is now like a part of their work life. So it's really, really good. We have a very broad team working on a whole bunch of the stuff, and I just wanted to say that they're best.
Okay. Alex, how long can we steal him for before you're forcing us to get off the call?
How long do you need?
I don't know. I think Dratnos has a couple more follow-ups.
One more bonus
Yeah, I
question.
think a couple more should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, one more for the road. I have a question. This one was one of the questions I actually, we kind of did freeform here, but I wrote down some, and this was kind of my favorite of these, so I want to ask this.
Yeah, go for it.
So one other area that we haven't covered in this is trinkets. It's something that you're kind of involved with, right? Is like the design of the trinkets that we get every tier.
Mm-hmm.
Have there been any of the trinkets that you've either been involved with or seen or something that you've been like, oh, that's so cool, and then like for tuning reasons or whatever, nobody plays it, and which of those are the most like like, I wish we'd seen more people using that one.
Man, basically everything from Sepulchre of the first ones, is I will say. No, so the condensed version of this answer is that I think it's tough. A lot of people are going to be like aghast because Blood Mallet says they're bad or something, but like it's frankly on the raid side pretty hard for us to miss these days, and I'm going to define that, right? We have some superstars like your Spy Masters, right, or your Grief Torches, or whatever. Whenever they crop up, we're gonna have a few that people beacon, right? They're gonna be like, that's the one that I want. I'm gonna hunt down, right? But we don't consider the other ones a failure, right? Something that we talk about on our team a lot is the gearing journey, right? Like you aren't going to get full bis immediately. We hope that on your way to it, that you're getting things that are fun, that are cool, that feel good for the time that you get them, or maybe you keep something around because it's good in M+, or this and that, right? Like, the other thing, too, that we kind of can't foresee is, like, honestly, fight tuning and fights will change. I don't know that I thought they were perfect, but I had 2 trinkets on Razageth that I thought were kind of cool. And they just really lended themselves to really long fights because we had just had, like, Sylvanas and the Jailer, like 2 of the most epic, long fights of all time. And then a lot of fights just weren't that long. Or even though I think Mythic Razageth still ended up, or even Heroic Razageth at some points ended up pretty long. It just didn't work out with how those trinkets were set up. And it was like, beans, like it happens, or we'll make like a 2-target or a 3-target trinket that's supposed to be really sick. And then it just turns out that the fight that it was kind of designed or maybe with an eye towards just doesn't end up as challenging or ends up so challenging that you need like all hands on deck. And like one little trinket is kind of a drop in the bucket relative to that value. So all that to say, when looking at, and even sometimes, a patch will drop. This happens every single time. I will call out tank players. Every single time a patch drops and everyone's like, these trinkets are so bad. And at the end of the patch, what do I see? Everyone's still wearing them. Everyone's still using them up in high level. And I am being cheeky. Of course, we do try to make them better every time. I'm really proud of this raid. And I have to say, Tyler Newhouse, who I often called my young protege, which is very funny because I think he's older than me and he's a dad. But he has basically handled most of this. I have been really driving on the flavor angle, but I think it's a lot of bangers. It's a lot of stuff that's really, really exciting. To go back, Alex is like sweating. He's like, stop talking, bro, stop talking. No, Sepulchre of the First Ones was my first raid like by myself, if you want to think of it that way, which nothing ever is, but it was like I owned it. And I had a lot of really, I think, awesome ideas that just did not meet the road of where players were at. Stuff like I played a lot of Heroes of the Storm, and so we did Anduin's ult from Heroes of the Storm. We did a 10-minute trinket. I was like, that's awesome. It's like AMZ. And then just turns out you can't put AMZ on a trinket. And so I was put in front of a firing squad, and the thing was made quite bad. And I was so new at the time that I think now these days, whenever those kinds of discussions come up, myself and a lot of my coworkers would be like, what's another way we can spin this, or we can salvage it, or we can tune it, we can get something really cool. Same with like Mal'Ganis, turn you into a big bug swarm. I also was a Mal'Ganis main in HOTS, and I was like, this is so cool, you turn into the big bug swarm. And it's like only maybe Frosty K and like Arms Warrior could use it, because it's like, that was the point at which like Rhett's APM was like nearing 60 actions a second. It was like, yeah, bro, turning into a swarm of bugs, the amount of damage this would need to do is like an unholy amount. And so just a lot of really cool stuff like that if you go back, I promise, there were cool reasons for all of them. But that was a really big lesson for me, just in terms of like, okay, capture a lot of that, rein it in, and then make it for people first. And so Vault of the Incarnates is something I'm really, really proud of, because I think overall it was our first, I think, like modern raid in terms of our team was a lot freshly new, and it was our first look at like almost everything in it is very good. It is very snappy. All of them are really easy to understand, and they hit the immediate fantasy that people wanted for something that felt like a first patch, right? So even though we try to go a little crazier towards the end of expansion, it was like, this stuff makes sense, it's readable, people are hyped, and but my ultimate lesson, shout out to Zed, I completely missed Zed. Zed Gravely Schrager, the one person that I meant to mention, he is someone who joined during Dragonflight and has quickly become the most insane like visuals maker. I sent him so many videos of the Flame of Frenzy from Elden Ring, and I was like, Zed, do you know how to do this on the Trinket? And he was like, yeah, bro, I got you. And so now he's been working in Delves. Every cool thing that you see in Delves is he's like in his lab. He's got 4 monitors at work. That's real. He is actually just in a corner doing insane stuff. But the TLDR is making you shoot fire lasers from your mouth and letting everybody see that, or turning into a wind elemental, or as you're going to see in this raid, shooting motorcycles at people and stuff like that. Like, it turns out a lot of that is the bang. Like, people in their back of the brain want to know that the numbers are good, but a lot of people are just hyped if you just throw stuff at people or shoot lasers. And so we're trying to aim for bringing the complexity down, keeping some text that's fun to play around with, not just making it all easier, but also just giving you flashier, more explosive, more cool things that you feel like you can actually access and use. So even if it's not your bis, for the short time you have it, you're like, I liked turning into a gorilla or something. We don't do that anymore, but there was going to be one that turned into a gorilla. That's lore. But there you go. Hopefully that's enough. Alex is like, I'm going to beat you to death with hammers. You have to get off this call.
Is that where we're at, Alex, or are we at the hammer stage?
Unless he's not.
Unless we can ask one more.
I think we're ready to wrap it up.
Oh,
Okay. All right.
I've been enjoying the chatter though. I'm glad that
good. Hey,
that the
me
community's
too,
been
man.
a fan of this, and this has been fantastic.
all right, yeah, it's been really great.
So much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, we've talked a lot before. I knew you'd be just an all-star at this, and I'm really glad to see, and not that you don't get this from Ian and Morgan, who, you know, a lot of the questions are just so like, give us information, right? I'm so glad to see the obvious passion of someone that works on this game and just like fucking loves doing this. That like, I mean, obviously the chat is right now. They're like, it's, I think for them to see that from a developer, which is often, you know, kind of in behind like a shroud, which totally makes sense, by the way. But it's like, just for them to see that is, I think, really good. And this was extremely insightful. I really, really enjoyed this. I'm sure Dratnos did as well.
No, I appreciate it. I know it's been a journey to try and get us to talk on a camera instead of off a camera. This one is actually going to be short, I swear to God, Alex, but I just, another thing I have to say, I have to respond to you. No, this is important. I want to say, I do think it is a bummer, though I understand that a lot of game development companies are like, we don't want to put people in front of cameras, or because there's a lot of danger, right? There's a lot of risk. There's a lot of actual fear, right? It's not even just we don't want to talk to you. It is not safe for a lot of people. There's a lot of people who choose actively to not want to do this, and because of that, I think it creates a lot of misinformation. It creates a lot of people being like, oh, so they just not want to talk to us? Or some guy shows up and is like, I know how game dev works, and then they're grifting you. It becomes a whole weird thing, and I think is an unfortunate side effect of this. The thing that I want people to understand, there is zero shot anybody would do what I'm doing or anything close to it if we did not like this. There is no, I know people who give up, you know, $300,000 a year contracts at you know, X big software company to come hang out and name items and make your soul happy and like make cool stuff. Or, you know, the person drive, we haven't even talked about all this stuff in this patch, and we're not going to, Alex, I promise. But like the car, all of that, like, you can only do that if you love showing up to work and you're like, I want to make people drift, and I want to do that. The day that it was shown off in a design meeting, the person who was behind that system showed off a anime music video that they made with an unnamed theme that rhymes with Drool Angel's Thesis, while the car was drifting all over. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it was like, this is only made by people with love. This is made by mad scientists who love what they do. So yeah, I hope everybody knows it's not like I'm the one passionate guy and everyone else is asleep. It's actually everybody is mostly afraid and or trying to get work done, and everybody loves what they do. And that's game dev, baby.
Wow, this is amazing. All right, Alex, we're officially done, by the way. We're super done. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're done. I'm done. I'm not talking. I'm done.
All right, thank you so much, you two. That was excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Dude, Alex wants me dead for sure.
I'm just saying. If this, you know, it's just, you know, if this were a podcast, think about it. we wouldn't have We wouldn't have any issues.
So true, actually. Well, maybe now Alex will trust that. Actually, let's get a live answer from Alex. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God, no. Okay, I'm leaving the call.
All right, leaving the call too.
Bye.
All right, see you guys.
Bye. Goodbye.
Oh, my dogs think it's time to end the stream. Dude, I told you he's the GOAT. Dude. I'm also so glad. Dude, I almost thought about not doing this interview because I was so upset it wasn't a podcast, but that was an absolutely GOAT interview. That was insane. See, this is why, dude, when I see, just knowing some people like him, whenever you just see random, like, chatters being like, the devs don't play this game. The devs, like, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't like what they're... He plays the shit out of WoW. He fucking loves WoW. And... they don't even, like, all the stuff they do isn't isn't like assigned to them, like that drive thing. People, they just give them a lot of room to make cool shit that they find fun, and that's really evident when you hear him talking about it. So when you see people just shitting on devs, it's like, I mean, I know it's like jobless behavior, like they don't know any better, but like it's just, when you know someone like him and a lot of other people like him, it's just like, how could you say that? It's insane. It's insane. That was really sick. I think we asked 5 total questions, by the way. And he just, yeah, also, I mean, so if they would have let us do a podcast, and I warned you guys, what did I tell you before this podcast started? And it's not a bad thing, but I did tell you that this guy is a fucking yapper. Like, he makes me look like I don't even talk, you know? But yeah, like if we had him on a podcast, bro, which Blizzard, if you're listening to this, please let him do that, because, you know, we're all smart enough to not have that be like a dangerous PR thing, I guess, which is probably what they're afraid of. But like, I don't know, man. It would just be the best podcast of all time. Bro, he put you in the dirt. Well, okay. That's a 3-hour. Oh, yeah, that would be a long podcast. Yeah, because he's, you know, oh, I'm just like a big camera in the middle of the screen, huh? Did you get a 4th dog? No, it's my girlfriend's dog. That's little baby Edna. You see her right there? Edna. Edna dog. Hi, little baby Edna. That's her right here. Pre-record and edit. I mean, hey guys, you don't have to convince me. I'm down to do it no matter what. And if there's any good thing that'll come from this, it's that, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the best interview I've ever done, because like I've gotten more information from, you know, talking to like a game director or something, but like you can't make up, I mean, he's a personality, you know, he's just like he's an extremely wonderful person. Not to say that like other people I have interviewed aren't, but you know, he's the GOAT. At least you've ever spoken in an interview, and the best interview you've ever done, and also the least you've ever spoken in an interview. Coincidence? What the fuck, dude? Also, I was reading a couple of comments in the middle of it, and they were like, Dratnos is just here just to listen. But like, I don't think I asked any more questions than Dratnos did I? I could go back and listen to it, but I'm pretty sure we like evenly split up the talking. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I feel like Skarzard counted or talked for 95% of it, which was ideal. That is, none of you guys are here to listen to my opinions about any of this shit. You're here to listen to him, right? Which is, so that was good. But people were just like, yeah, we both got a solid 2 questions in. Yeah, I mean, we wanted to ask about a few other things, but we just didn't have time. It was so funny. Dratnos and I were like, before this, I called him on the way home from hockey, and I was like, all right, we can kind of like separate some of this shit. And, you know, we'll message each other when we have a follow-up and all this stuff. And then we wrote down like all these things we would talk about. And like literally 3 minutes into the interview, we're like, we're going to be able to talk about 20% of this. So we need to start prioritizing what we're going to be talking about. Did you even ask a question at the start, or did he just start yapping? I think he just started yapping. But, like, that's not a bad thing, though. He's just, I mean, but also, okay, when people yap, sometimes there's a lot of yappers that, like, just are talking just to talk. Like, everything he said had quality or was funny or, you know, he was definitely killing it. I wonder if he knew he was on fire. He had a bunch of great bits in there, like the flavor thing, and he was definitely, the lower G gamer. He was definitely he was hitting. He could feel the audience. I wonder if he had chat open and chat was like giving him W's the whole time. So he was just like kept it going. That was so good. That was so good. It was so funny that Alex was like, yeah, you can ask a few more. And then we asked one question and then he was like, this has to end because it was so, yeah. Who is Alex? Alex manages their he's like the lead, is it community man, I don't know exactly what, but he's in charge of like a lot of like for me to like do a podcast or an interview with someone, like he would reach out and tell me about that. He's also he's a big Alex is great, by the way. He's a PR guy. He's not a PR guy, no. He's I don't really know his exact title, but he's sick. He's very involved. Alex had his finger on the button for sure. Yeah. Dude, oh my god. I hope a podcast gets greenlit. Something tells me that it won't, because we pushed for it for so long only for them to be like, here's a 30-minute interview which you've done a bunch before, and that was kind of a letdown. But obviously, like, I'm so glad this interview happened, because I think that was so good that like maybe there's some super parasocial people in this stream that like have a completely different opinion of what game developers are like unironically, you know, because maybe they've just never seen or heard from one before, and then that was like the best possible introduction of one, you know. So I think that was really important and really good, informative for sure, but like I mean, just great, you know. Like, bro, do you know how cool it would be? Like, a lot of you guys who have jobs, you know how cool it would be to work with someone like that? Or a bunch of people like that? And maybe it'd be overwhelming if there was a bunch of people like that. But it would be, you know, just, you know, you're going to show up to someone that just fucking, you're going to show up to work and work with someone that just fucking loves their job, you know? Fucking love that shit. That would be sweet. How long do you think the podcast would go on for? Oh, I'm pretty sure the first time him and I had a conversation, it was like 3 hours long. That was just like one-on-one. Like, no, there wasn't anybody else. It was, you know, I mean, so yeah, it would be a long time. It would potentially days. A two-parter even. Oh, I didn't even have YouTube chat open. Hopefully they enjoyed it. I didn't have Twitch chat open until the end there, but he's main tank energy. Yeah, he loves raiding too. Like, I think the first time I talked to him, it was actually about his passion for raiding and like his raid group that he has with a bunch of his friends and stuff. And I think they might do like mostly heroic or maybe some early mythic stuff, but like they just like fucking love the game. They like opened my eyes to about, you know, like how people play that aren't you know, trying to like be the best, you know, trying to like raid and get super high rankings and stuff, you know, just like people who like genuinely enjoy the game, because I don't interact with a lot of people like that naturally because of what I do, which I found that super interesting. What is it? That was probably my favorite WoW interview I've ever watched. Didn't have any of the suit and tie vibe of some other Blizzard interviews. I mean, honestly, if I can critique anything, man, it's about the time. Because like we loved every second of that. Hopefully you guys loved every second of that. We could have gone a lot longer and it would have been great. But like interviews used to happen and they were an hour long, and when you do an hour long interview, you get the same 30 minutes of questions, but you can ask follow-ups. It can be more conversational, you know. But 30 minutes is too short. It's just the amount of time where you just ask this stuff and it makes the people you're talking to kind of sound like robots. People in chat assume they're like dodging questions because they literally don't have time to like fully answer them like he just did, if you want to ask more than a couple questions. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of, actually, you know, I think listening to what, like if I'm one of you guys right now, listening to that, I think is my favorite content to consume. I find myself on YouTube doing that a lot. I'll like go down a YouTube rabbit hole where I talk, or where I watch. Basically what it amounts to is just someone talking about something they love, and I could have no idea. It could be like about like anthropology or like how mafias work, or like I'm just literally anything that I know nothing about, and I previously knew nothing about that thing, but you're listening to someone talk about it who knows what they're talking about and they love it. I just like, I could consume an infinite amount of that content, and I think that's exactly what just happened. You know, like I think it's a little bit more closely related because you guys all play WoW, so you're listening to someone who creates WoW talk about the cool stuff they make in WoW and they like it, so it's even more relatable. But even if it wasn't, I would love listening to what just happened. You know, and I feel like in a 30-minute interview, it's really, really hard to pull that off and actually talk about the amount of stuff you need to talk about. So Blizzard, if you're listening to this, that was amazing. And it would have been even better if it was 20 minutes longer. I'm not like super familiar with corporate stuff. I don't know what the fear is there. There has to be one. They moved from an hour to 30 minutes anyway. A long time ago, like back when Preach used to do super long ones. 45 minutes or an hour would be just awesome. You know, I mean, that was 40 minutes because a lot of yapping. Devs are busy. Yeah, I mean, they have a patch coming out literally in a week. So I'm sure they're just like also work though. Probably don't want to show favoritism amongst content creators. I mean, that just like kind of always happens though. Right? Like Preach got to do hour-long interviews and no one else did after that. You could look at that as favoritism. Preach like stopped playing WoW for he like officially stopped playing WoW, and then he like got flown to Blizzard and they answered a bunch of questions about like the lawsuits and shit. Like, I don't know, there's favoritism all the time. You can't avoid that. It's real. Maybe it's to standardize it. And I know I get like I've probably gotten more Blizzard interviews than fucking anybody in the last like couple years, right? So I'm not acting like I'm not being paid attention to or anything, but I think at least as far as I know, that's why they're shorter. Not ungrateful, just would love more. Yeah, this is all positive. The only thing people are talking about is that they would have loved to have more, which is always a good thing, right? It's a good problem to have. Are Dinars coming this tier then? I think exactly what he said, because I asked him about, well, I knew they didn't like officially announce anything about Dinars, but we know from their communication that it was removed from the Raid Renown track, but they plan on adding them back in some other way. And he went into a long description about why that is, which I think is the most interesting part about this for sure. And he ended with saying, like, we'll have more information about that soon. And the main reason he didn't want it tied to the Renown track is it's not as dynamic and it's maybe not when players want it. But he did warn that in design, it's really difficult to give you something early and then remove it, or take it away or make it later, and because then people are mad. So even though he's impulsive, you know, he would sometimes you have to have it be a little later and then add it forward, just like he did with the Catalyst, right? Like the Catalyst was objectively too late for too long, and then it got moved to a place where it makes sense. But like, it made sense why they did it that way rather than the other way around. So it's probably a lot of the same thing. We just don't know exactly when it's coming yet. Also, you know, I like that he shouted out his colleagues. Someone in YouTube chat said that guy is yapped in America. Was classy for sure. Well, I mean, it's also true. Like every single raid boss system thing, like there, like almost nothing at Blizzard ever gets made where one person just makes this thing. That's not how it works. But sometimes what's happened in the past, in a negative way for sure, has been that like people assign a name to like these people on these things and then they like throw a lot of hate at them. This happened on Skarn. Like the guy one of the people who made Skarn got like targeted, and he wasn't even the person who decided when that nerf should go in the middle of the week. But like that person got hate. You guys remember Jeff Hamilton? That guy worked on the game for a really long time, which, by the way, that person you just heard talk to that a lot of you really like, he has an extremely high opinion of Jeff Hamilton, which tells me that Jeff Hamilton's the GOAT. And then when he went to Riot, there was like a Wowhead article that was like developer that made these systems, and they listed the systems that he was remotely involved in, which was also a bunch of other people too, and almost implied that like he made those things, and then that post just got a ton of hate, which was totally unnecessary. Huge L by Wowhead. And that's part of the reason why some of that is happening, but also I just think it's classy to be like, you guys think I'm the GOAT, but everyone I work with is the GOAT, which is sick. We want long form podcast, Patrick. You know what's funny? I think you guys say, I do truly believe you want that. But if it was not regulated, I wonder how long that would be. Like, actually. It would be a 2-parter, 3+ hour bare minimum. Because he works a lot on rewards stuff, as well as a bunch of other stuff. He just loves and plays the game a lot. But he has opinions about everything that's happening in the game. You know? Because he plays the game. So, like, and as you could probably imagine, those opinions are very nuanced. And he does what I do, where, like, you'll explain something, and then this is what I do as a streamer. I think about the chat message I would probably read that would be asking a question that's kind of like a little bit on a tangent, but like it's about a specific part of what I'm saying, and I'll remember that and I'll realize that as I'm saying it, and then I'll go on a tangent on that moment and explain what I think someone would ask as a question, and I'll just pre-answer it just to give more context. But if you do that endlessly, you end up just fucking yapping forever. And that's what he does, and that's what I do. The same thing. And it's exactly... So when he's yapping a lot, you'll notice that he's going on little side tangents, because in his head it clicks that someone could ask a question about what he just said, and he'll pre-answer it. And that is the key to endless yapping. That is peak ADHD. Oh yeah, 100%. It is definitely a common trend. Yeah. Twitch, a bunch of haters, all love on YouTube. I don't think there was any haters. I think people were really happy. There was a lot of W Alex's when he let us go a little bit longer. My favorite comment was someone said Dratnos got all dressed up just to listen to this guy. He like put on a button-up shirt and everything, looking nice, just to not say fucking anything the whole time. Both him and I asked. I think we each asked 2 things, which was, I mean, great. I think this is not a complaint. This is excellent. It was probably the best interview that I've ever done, and I didn't really do anything. Someone was just on my stream. Totally forgot to ask about Valor stones. That was like the next thing on the list that we didn't forget. That was just something like, here's the reason why I didn't want to ask about, or not didn't want to ask about it. It seems so like there's a reason why I do and don't want to ask about it, because I feel like they're not going away, and I don't know if that's his decision. But like I just so strongly feel like they don't really do anything good. They're only like annoying, or they're irrelevant. Annoying when you're out of them, and irrelevant when you have enough of them. There's questions about the cap. There's questions about how long it takes to acquire it once you're low on them. And all of it points to like, why does this exist? And I feel like he would have potentially gave an excellent nuanced answer as to exactly why they exist, and actually convince all of us, including me, who's very cynical about Valor stones, that there's actually a reason something like Valor stones exists in a game, and maybe just the acquisition's a little off. And that would have been the reason to ask it. But I also think that, like, maybe above his control, they still exist for I don't know what reason. Maybe he could have talked about that, but also maybe he couldn't have. I don't know. Loved the Trinket answer, by the way. Yeah, well, the reason... Yeah, Dratnos was really smart in asking that. We had to whittle down the amount of things we're going to ask, but I know he fucking loves naming things, really peculiar things. Like, he came up with dinar and bouillons. Like, not that those are words that didn't exist already, but he just loves knowing peculiar, interesting words and names of things. Big into flavor. So I know that a lot of the trinkets and stuff that he's been roughly involved with his team, he's been like really excited about. And I think, like, if you think about it, Like, think about how many cool trinkets are in this game. We actually talked about this a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, where I was like, what are all the coolest trinkets that have ever been in the game? And I went back and looked at the trinkets, and I only named ones that we used, which is obvious, because, like, why would you think about a trinket you haven't used? But, like, there's so many cool trinkets in this game, and unless a robot tells you that it's the best one, you will never interact with it ever, if it was up to you. So you actually don't know. There's probably like 80% of the trinkets they make see like 0 play. So I think asking someone who's involved in creating really unique and creative ones, which I am a fan of the creative trinkets. Like, I do understand some people wanting it to be simple and it's like, just give me a couple stat sticks and I'm good to go. But like, if you look at the best trinkets of all time, the ones that like you remember, you know, Coral, Ink Pod, Font of Power, the one from Hellfire Citadel that mages used, Grief Torch, you know, Soul Capacitor. You could go on. There's a million of them, right? But none of those are fucking stat sticks. Why? Because stat sticks are just like, you know, they serve a purpose, but they're like not really that cool. They're easy to understand, and they have a function, but like they're just not very cool. So I think, you know, they should be making more of those trinkets, because even if they have a high miss rate, it also just creates the scenario where you have one of the coolest trinkets ever, you know? So, I don't know. Sweet. I'm a big fan of it. And I know he loves thinking about making stuff like that. Like, do you remember when he was like, yeah, I just like joined the team and I like, I tried to make like basically AMZ on a trinket and I didn't realize you couldn't do that yet because I just started working here and they put me in front of a firing squad. You know, just shit like that. The insight of that is really interesting. Great answer for sure. Ovinax one is incredible, but high skill cap. Yeah, but like I would rather them do that, and I would rather them make annoying trinkets that people hate, just to understand. Like, they're going to learn from that, you know? If you make a really cool trinket, but it's like a little annoying to use, the next time they make a trinket kind of like that, it's probably going to be less annoying to use, because you learn. That's how learning works. I'd rather them learn and fuck up a lot of that. Because you know what? The reality is that they make a trinket that's not very fun or cool or annoying. You just don't have to use it. You have a choice to just not use that thing. Also, another interesting thing he said was like, we are aware that there are like all-star trinkets, and that's done intentionally. Like things like Spy Masters are obviously intended to be good. Oh, fuck, Dratnos, we didn't get to ask about Very Rare. That would have been... Fuck. Okay, if there's one question we really should have asked, it was about that. Because I know he has some takes on Very Rare and how that's evolved over the years. Fuck. That would have been a nice one. Bring him back up. Call him up. Yeah, I'm sure Blizzard would love that. I mean, I could. Here's the thing that you guys need to know. I could call him right now, and I know he would want to answer and want to talk about basically anything forever. That's just like who he is. But I think Blizzard would have an aneurysm and he could lose his job. So that can't happen. But he's not the reason why that can't happen. Someone says, get him fired. Well... Are you sure you want, after listening to that, are you sure you want someone like that to not be working on the game you really like? Probably not, right? Invite him to dinner, get the questions on the DL leak. No, I've never done that. I've known him for a few years, and I can confidently say I've never like approached him and been like, all right, well, I know you, so tell me all the stuff I shouldn't know. I've never done that. I would never do that. That'd be so like disrespectful. The ring that rolls random stats the next year is either going to be awful or terrible to deal with. True. Is this the dude that designed Painsmith and Holandris? As far as I know, I don't think he's ever designed a raid boss or a dungeon boss, but I don't want to like fully, because I know he's involved. Like they're very collaborative. He may have worked on a few things, made a spell look a certain way or an item or something. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not really sure, but I know he's not like primarily a raid designer. His enthusiasm was intoxicating. Yep, W. Completely agree. Oh, okay. I just remember you saying you yapped with a guy and found out that they designed those fights or something. Oh, no. So when there was BlizzCon, which, by the way, bring BlizzCon back. But was it 2 years ago when they had BlizzCon? When I was there, I just met a couple of raid designers that were really cool. And I just, like, I don't know, I just, like, chopped it up with them about what, because like I think there's a lot of, like, it's kind of my job not only to think like a raid designer, but like a lot of times when we're seeing things on PTR to get more ready for the next build, you kind of have to, you see a version of a boss and like it doesn't completely make sense, it's going to get some changes, and you kind of have to be a raid designer for a second and be like, what would they change? What about this doesn't make sense? Oh, there's no area denial. There's no way to punish you for this. Oh, this is how they could punish you for that based on what they've done historically. And you learn to think. I don't think I would be very good at designing fights, but I think I understand a lot of the decisions they make because I have to. And just being able to talk to them about those things, I think, was really interesting. Just kind of, you know, hearing about some of like the things they went back and forth on, things they took out and why. Not for like upcoming fights, really. Just, you know, are you going to react to the recording? No, I felt like I was like reacting to it in real time. You know? Max, put the TL rotating thing back on. Oh, yeah, I should do that. It's there. Oh, hi, Reptar. Hi, little buddy. Come here. Oh, hi. The people want to say hi to you. Look who just jumped up here. Hey, buddy. Look at little baby Rep. Hi, buddy. Does he look big? Does he look like he's a grown boy now? No longer a puppy? I think he's like almost 2. You need more dogs? I have 3 dogs. I have enough dogs. He does still have he still has a puppy face for sure. Reacting to it in real time, basically meaning holding in joyous laughter. Yeah, he's funny as fuck. You guys probably, you only interacted with him for like 30 or 40 minutes, but like he's extremely funny. All right, someone said Kalamazoo made a tier list. And if so, if that's true, we'll watch that, and everything he says is correct. It's for Mythic Plus. Ooh, even more interesting. How long is it? 40 minutes? That's a long time. We could do what most people do with videos, tier list videos. They just go to the end and see that. But that's like so bad though. At least with me, I know people probably do that with mine that I do, which I should do this week. But you know, you're missing the meat of the content. But to some people, they just want to see a tier list. You know, that's what it is. Mine's so long, actually. I think, I wonder how to make mine less long and still make it good. You know, like let's look at mine. So, where did the War Within spec tier list with the WoW community? Okay, 650k views, but it was 4 hours long. That's insane, right? So, like, how can I do this and make it less long? Or does it, the fact that it is long doesn't matter? Because like, how many people do you think actually watch the whole thing? Like, maybe you listen to it as a podcast in the background. But most people, I think, are like, okay, I'm a Death Knight, so I'm going to go to the Death Knight section and listen to Death Knight stuff. And that totally makes sense, you know? So for most people, I think they probably maybe look at the end and they listen to their class, I think. And in that way, the total duration of the video doesn't really matter. But maybe it makes a ton of extra ad revenue because people like go to sleep listening to it, and then it just plays the whole thing, and the Google thinks they're awake, and then we're feeling great. So I could do that. But I know it took so long to edit this last time because it's so long. I just wonder, like, basically, what did I do? Okay, I mean, isn't it naturally going to be shorter? Because we're going into a patch. So naturally, a lot of things are less long than the beginning of an expansion. Because, like, in an expansion, a lot of things are different. People are like, what is changing about my class going into the expansion? You know? It's more like what's changing from patch to patch, which is just objectively less time for everybody. So if that's the case, you're basically just asking people, maybe what I'll do is like, hey, like 5 minutes per, which is like, that's basically what I did. I mean, 5 minutes with 39 specs is, that's a long time. Max, do you intend to bring the same people? I mean, I generally have people that I know to talk to. I mean, there's some like goats, right? So like always talk to Azertharian about Hunter. Always talk to Death Knight with Taze Knight. There's a few other DKs I know though. Usually talk to Kalamazi. Mage can be a few people because I know Preheat has been doing some evoker stuff. Healers I usually, and tanks I definitely just talk to like a couple of tanks. Because like tanks just play everything. That's a thing. So you don't need to bring on a specific prot warrior, prot paladin, or guardian druid or whatever. Get an orchestra playoff song that starts playing after 2 minutes. But I mean, that makes the content worse though. I feel like the closer you get to that, the closer you get to just like having people rank a thing and then you're just watching it just for the materials, which I know people do that. But like, I still would like some semblance of integrity of like actually making good content, you know? That's what I find interesting about it. I don't know. It'll probably just be long. I'll do it later this this week probably. I mean, I kind of need it to be out by the patch though. So I kind of need to do it. I mean, tomorrow's my birthday. I don't really want to spend my birthday fucking talking about a million WoW specs. I don't want to work on my birthday, you know? But also, I've been, like, kind of not working for, like, 2 months. So... maybe I can suck it up and work on my birthday. Someone in chat said I'm 10 days older than you. Get fucked. What do you mean get fucked? That doesn't affect me at all. Like, I know that now, and it doesn't mean anything to me. That just means you're old, right? And I'm not. Yet. Hi, Edna. Hi, sweet girl. Hi, sweet girl. Tier list your birthdays since birth? Oh, shit. Wait, does anyone even have, like, a... I don't even know. I don't think my birthday has ever been, like, crazy hype. I usually just, like, have dinner with a couple friends. I don't, like, do extravagant things on my birthday. I'm trying to think. If I ever had a birthday that was, like, really cool in my entire life. I mean, it's probably when you're a kid, because you just get cool shit. Like, now I'm an adult. Like, if I need something, I'll just get it. So, like, I feel like all of my adult birthdays have been extremely insignificant. Which is maybe... a bad thing. Like, maybe you should do some crazy memorable shit for your birthday. That's a reason to have a cool birthday, I guess. Max, why aren't you having a Shroud level birthday party? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, I'm not nearly that famous, so I wouldn't be able to have, like, I just could not get that many people to show up to my birthday in Fallout theme. And also pay for it. I'm pretty sure Shroud paid at least $100,000 for that party, if not more. I can't just be throwing out $100,000 for my own birthday. I just don't have that many people that know me. I just can't do that. That party was fucking sick though. That was a cool ass party. That was an awesome birthday party. I would be down to do that if enough people cared about me, but I don't think that's true. I'm pretty sure Dead Mouse DJ'd that party like it was remote, but like I mean he was insane. He still has some of that Fallout shit in his garage. What is it? You met my friend as a bartender in Vancouver, so people know you. Oh, that did happen. I went to Vancouver over the weekend, and or over the last it was Thursday through Saturday. I was in Vancouver, and we went to a really nice restaurant called Annalena, Michelin star place. The food was fucking great, by the way, and the wine. But dude, I like. We sat at the bar. It's like the only table they had when we got reservations for it. And it was a great experience. And the first thing that happens when we sit down is we're like talking to the bartender. And he goes, "Are you Liquid Max?" And I'm like, "Oh shit." Which is also the first time my girlfriend has seen someone like recognize me, which is cool. I don't get recognized a lot because I don't wear my glasses except for when I'm streaming. So when I wear my glasses, I get recognized like way fucking more. It's like the opposite of Superman. You know, Superman has like Clark Kent. And he puts on glasses and looks nerdy and shit. I have glasses on and look nerdy and shit all the time. But, like, whenever I'm not being recognized, I just don't have my glasses on and just people have no idea it's me. But he didn't know it was me until I started talking. And then he was like, "Oh, shit. That's definitely this guy." Apparently, I have a recognizable voice, is what he said. I don't know if that's true. But here's what he said to me, which I thought was really cool. He said, "Dude, there are so many celebrities that have come into this restaurant, and you are by far the coolest person that has ever sat down on this bar to me." And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking awesome." Because you know how, like, okay, so when you get recognized by people, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 of them are aware of you, but they don't really fuck with your content or, like, are a fan of you or anything. They just, like, know who you are, and they want a picture because they want to collect pictures with people they know, like, and collect them like Pokemon. And those interactions mean nothing to you as a person. Like, they just don't matter. But then every now and then you get people that like you can tell they actually like have followed your like what you do and stuff. And then when those people recognize you, it's like such a great feeling because you're like, this is awesome. Not only because that moment matters a lot to them, but it genuinely matters to me to like meet someone that really likes what I do. Like, that's fucking cool, you know? Glazed for tips. I mean, he like kind of risked his job at the end. He said, "Hey, I'll get the door for you guys." And he asked for a pic outside, and we walked to the other side of like down the street a little bit so people inside didn't see him asking for a picture because he was afraid of getting fired. So I'm pretty sure it was real. But yeah, no, it was really cool. He was a great guy. It was like the first person I met in Canada. The first person I like had a conversation with in Canada knew who I was, which was that's just a weird fact, I guess. Well, now he is fired. His boss probably doesn't watch the stream. But yeah, if this guy's listening, that was awesome. Dinner was awesome. What are we doing here? What are all the dogs? Oh, Edna, stop, baby girl. Hey, leave him alone. I also had one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life in Canada. It was at a place called the Social Corner or something like that. It was really late at night. We had just got back from a concert, and we were just finding any place that was open. And I found out a weird fact about Canada, or at least Vancouver, is that they're not allowed to cook their burgers anything other than well done. And I don't really know why. Something like all the meat is sourced from the same place, and maybe like one time some people got sick or something, so now they have to like cook the fuck out of it. Unless that's all of Canada. Okay, whatever it is, this place like makes their own burger or whatever. So like they have control of it, so they're able to make it medium rare or rare, however the fuck you want your burger, right? That's just a random fact I found out about Canada. But L Canada for that, by the way. Well done meat is shit. Or at least beef. But more strict food regulations up here. Yeah, but bro, have you ever eaten like a well done burger versus like medium or medium rare? It's like totally different. Anyways, this burger they had was fucking crazy, dude. You just said it was the best burger you had in your life, though? Well, yeah, it wasn't well done. They were like, I don't know if you know this about Canada, but normally at a restaurant you only get well done burgers, but we can make ours medium rare because we like make their own burgers, I guess. I don't know exactly how that works, but or maybe they broke the law. W. Yeah, that is a very Canadian crime, by the way. Not cooking burgers well done. Edna, stop it. Chill out, girl. Damn, bro, you snitched on their illegal medium rare activities. What a fucking sentence. What an absolute sentence. Edna, chill out, girl. What is this tier list? Oh, I'm watching a tier list in the background because we were just talking about how to do my tier list later in the week, but I did just realize that I'm potentially baiting people via the thumbnail on Twitch and people who are watching this by thinking that this is happening right now. So W. Also, we got some dogs playing right now. Look at little baby Reptar. Little baby Reptar and Edna. Hi, Lily. Get up here, girl. Come here. Come here. Get up here. Say hi to the people. W bait plus income. So true. Reptar about to get his ass beat. Now, Reptar's a beast, bro. Oh, good growl, Reptar. Oh, row, row, row. Max, our little golden retriever just went in heat as soon as we got back from our cruise. Oh shit, my dog did that too. So my Ella and Lily are both spayed, but I had a vet recommend to me to let them go into heat one time before spaying them, or I don't know if it was to go into heat. They said they'd probably go into heat, but they said to wait until a year to spay them for some kind of health thing for Great Danes. So I did that, but Lily and Ella both went into heat before that point, and it was very messy. It was maybe a little too much information. Maybe you guys don't want to hear that, but yeah, it was that was a fucking problem. Hey. Hey. So this thing is Ella or Reptar and Edna like playing, but Ella and Lily like don't know how to let Reptar have fun. Like if Reptar's ever playing with another dog, they feel like they have to protect him. Hey. Hey. Okay, Reppy. All right, I'm going to go eat dinner and blow up. So I will see you guys maybe tomorrow. I mean, actually, I'm considering doing it tomorrow, the tier list, which would be my birthday. It's either tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. Wait, one of those days I have more content to be done. Hold on. Let me figure out exactly when I can do this. Okay, I think I'm doing more content on the 21st. When the fuck is that? Is that Friday? And then I think I have another one on like Sunday. Stay small. I'm not staying small. I'm staying big.